Okay, so I've been teaching guitar for about 35 years now. I started quite young, and I've been playing professionally for pretty much the same amount of time. And I just wanted to make a video because I can see that there are quite a few questions that come up every time. And I started, I've been teaching guitar from complete beginner and quite young kids to pro players, adults in their 70s and over. So, I wanted to address these 10 questions. I made a list of 10 for now. There might be more. And if you have more, just, something that you think is going to benefit everybody, just make a quick comment and I'll try and answer it the best I can. So these are 10 questions that I think come up very often. Also, I looked up on places like Reddit or ChatGPT to see if I could cover more ground, so to speak. So the first one is, how do I properly hold the guitar? This is like obviously for complete beginners, because I see that when people start to play guitar, they tend to kind of lean on with their elbow on their leg, and the guitar tends to kind of fall, fall that way, so to speak. And ironically, I had a couple of injuries due to playing guitar, and I had to see, chiropractors, osteopaths, and stuff like that. And I took some Alexander technique lessons, and basically there they teach you to first sit without the guitar and sit on your hip bones and basically sit so your shoulders are level and you feel relaxed, and your head, shoulders, and and hip bones, so to speak, are kind of level and you feel relaxed. And when you feel that, and you obviously your feet are set on the ground, when you do that, you just add the guitar and you try to keep that relaxation and that that way of sitting as much as possible. So you try and play by staying relaxed and with your shoulder balanced. That's it, really. You just sit comfortably and you add the guitar. So you sit comfortably without the guitar, and then you add the guitar to that comfortable position. I found that that's quite a handy way of doing it. Obviously, this is the more modern way, with your guitar sitting, electric guitar sitting on your right leg. Obviously, more traditional players will have one, a rest, a footrest under the left foot, or some sort of thing that lifts the guitar on their left leg, so to speak. That's more a traditional way, a classical guitar. Obviously, then when you're performing, it all goes out of the window. You're entertaining people, you're moving around a lot on stage and stuff like that. So those 2 hours, you're just there to have fun. You don't think about these things. But in general, when you start playing, you basically sit without the guitar, and when you're comfortable and balanced, and if you feel that everything is balanced, then you add the guitar to that and you just start playing. So that was question number one. For beginner, question number two, what are the basic chords I should learn first? Sorry, I'm just reading my list right there on my to my right. Obviously, if you're a complete beginner, you want to learn open, what I call like cowboy chords, or open position, like first position chords, like C, D, D minor, E. So I'm going to just overlay, actually right here to my left, a bunch of chords that you can learn. You can take a screenshot, and I will post a link to that page. Also, I think once you've learned those, you definitely want to learn like the E major and E minor bar chord shapes, and the A minor and A major bar chord shapes. With those, you will be able to fill the gaps. I know the bar chords are a bit painful, and I made a video about that, so I will link that in the description and a pinned comment as well. How to do bar chord properly without your fingers hurting, so to speak. And with those four shapes, you should be able to cover the chords that you cannot play in open position or first position or cowboy chords, whatever you want to call them. So those are the first chords that you should learn, so that you can play like songs like the Beatles, Bob Dylan, that kind of stuff, really. Number three, how can I improve my strumming patterns? Okay, this is quite again, for like the beginner intermediate ones. Strumming patterns tend to work on subdivisions, and subdivisions work with, let's say I'm talking about subdivisions like rhythmic subdivisions like 8 notes, quarter notes, 16 notes. I'm just going to make an example. What is called the universal strumming pattern, like that's a subdivision of 8 notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you can see that my arm just moves up and down. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And most strumming patterns work on that idea that your arm just moves up and down, and you either hit or not hit the strings. A wrong way of doing that would be this. So where in the gaps where I'm not hitting the strings, your arm is not moving up or down. Where, let's say, let me make an example that's a bit more extreme. If I'm playing like a funk rhythm, something like Chic, a tune by Chic, okay, on Nile Rodgers. So that's the same thing. It seems very complicated, but what I'm doing, I'm just moving my arm in 16 notes, so 4 motions per beat, 1 and 2 and up. And I decide to either hit the strings or mute the strings with my left hand, but the logic is the same. I move my arm up and down, and I hit the strings when that pattern happens. I hope this is clear enough. Another thing that I can add is that usually people tend to do, even when they strum quite, let's say it's like a folk player would do, they don't move their arm enough and quickly enough, because the motion, I always describe it as if you had to, it's like whipping motion. If you had to like dust off there's some dust on your clothes, on your trousers, and that's kind of the motion. Okay. So you have this whipping motion, and it's quite wide, and you're trying to hit the strings with momentum. That's what gives you that pop sound, that where all the strings, you can hear all the strings at the same time. This would be the wrong way of doing that when you grate through the strings. Beginners do this all the time. You want momentum. So you need that whipping motion. Okay. So the next one is some tips to transition smoothly between chords. Again, at the very beginning and up to intermediate, there's always that issue of moving your fingers quickly between chords. And that is pure muscle memory. And the way I approach that is the same way that somebody like a bodybuilder, or if you're trying to build muscle at the gym, you do repetitions. If you go to the gym, the personal trainer explains to you how to build physical muscle. You have to lift the weight 10 times, then rest 10 times, then rest 10 times, then rest. And over a period of time, your muscle will grow. Muscle memory works exactly in the same way. You have to do repetitions. A lot of people that can play fast, they've done loads of repetitions. They know that material really well. That's muscle memory. They built muscle memory by repetition. So let's say if I want to go from G to D, I remove the song for a minute, and I'm just going to do from G to D 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You repeat that motion 10 times. Obviously, it's going to be a hell of a lot slower when you do it at the beginning, if you're a beginner. But you have to do repetitions. Leave the guitar where you can see it. Leave it on a stand where you walk past very often during the day. And every time you walk past the guitar, you pick it up and you do 10 reps of the particular motion that you cannot do. Let's say going to G to D, or C to A minor, or F to whatever, okay? So you're building muscle memory. And again, it's the same thing. Think of it as you go into the gym and building muscle, physical muscle. Okay? Next one, how do I practice scales effectively? I don't think of scales is something you practice, unless you're a shredder, in which case you have certain like 3 notes per string patterns and stuff like that. But to me, again, it's about repetition and about usage, meaning that, let's say, and especially changing key, like going through the keys. Usually there's a circle of fifths. I will post a picture of the circle of fifths. And what you want to do is you want to put the scales in use, meaning that if I tend to teach the 5 shapes, So if I learn in G, the next one I want to use the same shape, and this will be movable shapes. I want to do in C, and I want to do in F, and B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat. That's with movable shapes. Obviously, if you want to learn just the scale, you have to try and find it, let's say G, C, F, D flat. There are many ways to learn scales. If you want to learn it by ear, in position, or by movable shapes everywhere on the guitar. So I would say transposing is the best thing. And if you're talking about technique, it's about using the metronome, and I will show that in a minute. The next one, how can I develop my own unique guitar tone? I mean, if you're talking about like tone in terms of like the gear side of things, when you transcribe, because a lot of people tend to transcribe notes. Let's say if I'm transcribing a solo, I transcribe the notes, but I can transcribe the tone as well, meaning if I'm listening to some random example, Comfortably Numb by David Gilmour, that solo by Pink Floyd, I'm going to try and copy the sound, okay? And I'm going to do some research, what pedals are used, but at some point you will be able to hear that there's some overdrive, some compression, what type of guitar is used, and what type of delay is used, what type of reverb, how much reverb. You will be able to match the EQ and stuff like that by just doing it like you do in transcription with notes. You will be able to match a note and so on. And by doing that, you will eventually get to figure out what you like, what is your taste, okay? I like chorus, the chorus effect on the guitar. I don't like chorus. Let's say I don't like chorus on acoustic guitars. Hate it. Hate it. A lot of people love it. I don't. It's a bit like food, if you cook or you go to a restaurant, there are things you like, things that you don't like. Eventually you go, I like spicy food, or I don't like spicy food, just by doing it. But you have to consciously transcribe, let's just put it that way, transcribe like you transcribe solos and licks and stuff like that. You transcribe effects and tone. Let's say a blues player might like a tone that is similar to Stevie Ray Vaughan. So obviously you will gravitate towards Stratocaster, single coils, Dumble amps, slapback echoes, reverbs of like spring reverbs. So you have that kind of vocabulary of effects and gear, okay? And the more you do it, in terms of voice, it's the same thing, but you will be, the voice, the way you play, okay? The type of vibrato you use, the type of phrases you use, it's the style of music, is the same thing. You have to go through a process of elimination of learning and listening to a lot of music and going, I like it or I don't like it. And eventually, consciously, you will go towards, what you like. There are some people that will get to a point where they eliminate any possible external interference. Let's say they stop listening to guitarists. And that's something you can do, or like you just record yourself every day. Again, there's something you can do. But I think naturally we tend to go towards a direction, and naturally you will create the way you play. You might be aware of it or not, but I think that's something that is natural. All right, next. What technique can I use to improve my speed and accuracy? Just the metronome. Just the metronome. And just record yourself playing slowly to a metronome and start, like, let's say, again, if you're a shredder, you will need certain particular types of patterns, let's say 3-note strings. And let's say shredders tend to do like a even odd number of notes per string, but even amount of notes in general. So let's say a pattern of 6 with 3 notes per string. So you know that you're always going to hit the one with a downstroke. So you will start very slowly, let's say with I don't have a metronome right here, but and then you add, let's say that to me sounded roughly at 60 or 70, and then you go 75, go slightly faster. Okay, you hit +5 on the metronome. And until you get to your desired target speed, so to speak. So you increment by 5 and you try to play that correctly, let's say 10 times. So when you are at, let's say, 80 BPM, if you can play that accurately 10 times or whatever you're trying to learn, then you move on to 85, to the +5 speed. There are certain tricks, let's say if you're looking for like speed, there are certain, again, the note per strings thing, and or pick slanting, which is a way of, let me see if I will zoom in. Pick slanting is the way to angle the pick and the direction of the picking. So let's say instead of going against the string, which gives a lot of friction, you try to slide inwards and then remove the pick outwards. You know, that's the idea, okay? And another way is to use hammer-ons. Again, there are so many different styles, hammer-ons and pull-offs. There's so many different styles to do with speed. It's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. And again, a lot is to do with the tone as well. I hope that helped a little bit. How to approach playing guitar solos and improvisation? Oh man, this is a huge one. I would say start by practicing. First of all, like I was talking about, something I forgot in the one about the scales, is when you improvise, you don't really play scales. Scales are a reference. Let's say this song is in the key of G, and these are the good notes. If I'm G major, okay, G minor, Dorian. Those are the good notes. But those are just reference. That's just the reference. When you play and improvise, you use phrases in a style. So you need to have a vocabulary, okay? So you need to build a vocabulary of phrases. If I'm improvising in G minor and I'm playing the blues, kind of like a minor blues, that kind of thing, I want to be able to play phrases in the blues style in G minor. That's a blues phrase in G minor pentatonic. Let's say if I'm playing jazz, I want to have bebop vocabulary or whatever style of jazz, you know. So that's kind of like jazz R&B. So I need to learn a vocabulary of phrases that work either on single chords, in this case, or chord progressions. Because let's say there are turnarounds. I'm saying jazz would be a 3, 6, 2, 5. So I need these are turnaround phrases. So phrases that work on a bunch of chords together. Okay, and So the combination of the phrases in a style, because I can't invent blues. If I want to sound blues, I can't invent it. Unless I invent my own style, like Alan Allsworth invented his own style, and he made a particular flavor of fusion. And if that's the way you want to go, that's great. But if you want to be able to improvise on existing music and an existing style, you need to be able to learn the vocabulary and how to introduce it in a song. And again, learn the phrase, transpose it. Let's say if I have this phrase let's just say in jazz, that would be in D minor. If I'm going to play in G, I need to be able to transpose it in a different area of the guitar, okay, or in a different key. So be able to use that phrase, that part of the little phrase part of a vocabulary, and then being able to use it as the chord is approaching. Let's say if there's a song that is, A minor, I'm able to just pull out that phrase and then mix it with things that are a bit more improvised. So I would say that improvisation is the mix of those two things. My vocabulary in that style plus just improvisation that I know. Okay, just stuff that I know that the song is in A minor. I can sing in my head certain things. Okay, and I can instantly transcribe them on the instrument. Okay, so it's a mix of the two things. So I need to sound in the style enough, and I need to be able to connect those phrases and just have enough of my own sensibility in that. And that just happens by me transcribing the melodies that I'm singing in my head, so to speak, while I'm playing. So I hope that's enough. And obviously the vocabulary is just transcribing solos, learning from other people and stuff like that. What are some ways to practice ear training for identifying chords and scales? I'm actually about to make a larger video about this, but in general, you start from identifying single notes. So let's say on the guitar, by ear and on the guitar. So first you have to be able to sing them back. And then if I heard that, I know that it's here, there, and there. Okay. Okay, that's that. So I've identified that note. Okay. Second, you have to match a bass line. Okay, so the root of the chords. So let's say if the song is I have to be able to find those notes by ear and then on the guitar. Next, I want to be able to hear the quality of the chords. Let's say, is the chord that the guitarist or the piano player playing on top of those bass lines, are they major or minor? Is it these are three major chords, or is it so the two minor chords and G was major. So I have to be able to listen to the song and go, well, the roots are C, F, and G, and the chords are C major, F major, G major, or C minor, F minor, G major. And then a bit of the time, I will refine that by going, that minor chord is not minor only, is minor 7, or minor 9, or minor 9th with a 13th. So you start to refine that. Is it just minor, or is it minor with a bit more? Okay. And this is again just experience. But as I said, I want to make a video that is about this in particular. And on top of that, then chord progressions, you want to have like functional harmony. That would be like a 1, 4, 5 in the key of C. I'm sure you've heard like the number system, of, like in Nashville, the French system as a jazz. Real books have numbers. That's functional harmony. So I will explain that in a separate video. How can I incorporate music theory in my playing? I mean, this is a bit controversial because I think there are different elements in music, and there's one that is art, where theory is relevant to a certain extent. And especially if you're writing and creating music, you don't want to almost. There was something Wayne Krantz said at some point. Wayne Krantz is an American guitarist, if you've never heard of him. It's like he doesn't really want to talk about composition or where it comes from or how it works, because as soon as you figure out the logic behind it, you can do it to a certain extent. You have ruined the magic, and the emotion behind it and the magic behind it. So the theory for me is just a reference. I wouldn't compose by theory. I probably would compose by style, because there are certain styles that have, let's say, blues chord progressions. If I want something to sound like a blues, I need to do like a 12-bar blues style or like a dominant chord. I can talk about this thing to convey, to explain something to people. But in general, I just have to use my ear and my inner ear and my oral imagination to come up with an imagery, like a musical imagery that I'm trying to replicate on the guitar. I'll just put it that way, okay? And to me, that is more important than incorporating theory into playing. As much as, yes, there is an academic side of, let's say, especially in jazz and fusion and things that are a bit more articulate than just, wailing over one chord, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think because there's more to convey, let's say there is a system that has been created to describe certain styles, let's say bebop, let's say with arpeggios and target notes and chromatic approach notes and functional harmony, where you explain 2-5-1s and passing chords and notes and all that. That's all great. But I think if you create music mathematically, it can work to replicate the style. Let's say I could create music mathematically by recreate the style of Bach, fugue, a counterpoint. But I would say to create music that is a bit more interesting, emotional, it becomes a bit more difficult. I think you can use theory to convey, to explain things to another person. But when you do it to yourself, it's just to compose or write and improvise. I think you should just trust your ears more. That's just purely my opinion. Okay, so these were my 10 most asked questions during my lessons. I hope this helped. If you have any other questions, or if you think that all I said was wrong, you can just leave a comment. And as always, check out the links in the description and a pinned comment. Like, subscribe, the usual stuff. This all helps the channel. Well, anyway, I hope this was helpful, this video. And if you found any value in it, please like, subscribe, share it on social media, send it to a friend, and the usual stuff. All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.